Carol, what does the whole field of child abuse mean to you?
To me, it means parents who, because of their own needs, either neglect the children or take their frustrations out on the children.
How did it work in your case?
I had a lot of problems, especially emotional problems, and I myself was abused. And consequently, the only way I knew to deal with a child was by being abusive. And then when I would get upset, I would spank the child until my frustration was eased. I didn't realize at the time that that was what I was doing. And I kept telling myself, I have bad children, I have impossible children, but nobody else had these problems with them. I was the only one.
Well, how were you yourself abused? What sort?
The mostly was emotional abuse. I was totally rejected by my parents. And, well, for example, my mother would go as long as 2 or 3 weeks without speaking to me for no apparent reason. And it was more, I was beaten some, but mostly the thing that did the damage was the emotional abuse.
And so you grew up not really knowing how to relate to a child.
Right, or to anybody, for that matter.
Were you given any training in school in family life?
No.
That sort of thing?
No.
Do you think that might have helped?
It possibly would have. It would have showed me that there were other ways of coping with problems than taking them out on the children.
What were some of the things that would upset you to the extent that you would take it out on the children?
Largely financial problems. I'm disabled and on a very limited income. And when the money got tight, I got mean. And then, too, I had many emotional problems. I didn't know even how to relate to myself and to even other adults. This Parents Anonymous group is the first group of people that I ever felt accepted in. And so it was those kind of needs. When I felt myself unacceptable, I'd take it out on them. When the money was tight, I'd take it out on them.
Were you married at the time?
No, when I was married, I didn't have the problem for the simple fact that my husband was very close to my son. Now, we separated before my little girl was born. And but he was very close to him, and he actually took care of him. I worked and brought home a paycheck, and he worked too, but he did all the child care. And if he wasn't there, a babysitter took care of him. So I didn't relate at all to my son until we separated.
But you had some supportive people there at all times.
Within the family, my husband. If he wasn't there, then we took him to a babysitter.
So you never had to carry the load alone.
In other words, if I had been taking care of him, I would have been abusing him.
Now, when you and your husband separated, did you have any hang-ups about how to talk to him, how to reason with him? Or?
With my son? Yes, I didn't know where to begin. We just didn't talk the same language, and he was very upset over his father leaving. And also, I was well on the way to my little girl being born. And so I wasn't feeling too well either. And I had problems there, even of paying for the baby. So I mostly rejected my son, and as long as I was able to work, I worked sometimes from 8 in the morning till 11 at night. And I'd come home, just fall in bed and get up the next day and go back to work, you know, trying to make overtime, pay for the baby.
So you never had time to talk to your children?
No. Mm-mm. And then after my little girl was born, well, I've never been able to work again. And I thought, well, now I can be a mother, and I found out that I don't know how to be a mother. And I gave up my son first. And then I was able to stop beating up my little girl, but I wasn't able to show her that I love her. I wasn't able to relate to her. So I was feeding her the same emotional abuse which had been so destructive to me. I loved her, but I couldn't show her. I was always saying, leave Mama alone. Mama's tired. Mama feels bad. And I finally felt that for her own security, she needed to be with someone that could show her love. And her daddy is married to a very warm and loving person. And so now both children